When you're an actor, you constantly want to improve your craft. Maybe you do this by taking classes, upping your skills, or reading plays, which is all great. But what if I told you you could learn how to act simply by watching movies? Hey there, honey bunch. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nico Austin Smith, and I am an actress here in Los Angeles. My channel is curated to those who want to make the most out of their acting career. So let's continue on this journey together. Watching movies is one of the best ways to learn how to act, on top of, classes and everything else you already do. Let's not get lazy. This is because it's important to watch the greats. It's imperative to study films that made a household name out of the actors that we consider great. Study their breakout roles. Study all genres. Study the roles that got them nominated for awards. Study how they created their characters, their physicalization, their behavior, their relationship to objects that they have in the film, their relationship to their environment, how they react to situations that they're in, and most importantly, how this character listens. These are things you should be looking out for whenever you watch movies. Sure, movies are a great way to escape reality. They're also a fantastic tool for learning, even if the film you're watching isn't so great. In no particular order, here are my top 10 movie recommendations to learn how to act. Stick around to the very end for a few bonus films. Number 1, Sound of Metal, directed by Darius Marder. Riz Ahmed is so spectacular in this film. It's about a drummer who loses his hearing. The journey that this character goes on is really interesting to watch. How Riz actually learned the drums for like 6 months in order to prepare for this role. It's a really wonderful lesson in sticking with the journey and how a person's relationship to sound can change and evolve. Number 2, and this is a double for number 2, which is Marriage Story, directed by Noah Baumbach, and House of Gucci, directed by Ridley Scott. Okay, I couldn't just pick one Adam Driver film, but I picked these two because Marriage Story is all relationship oriented and based. You can study how Adam's character and Scarlett Jo's character interact with one another and study the journey that they go on, how they interact with one another, how their body language and their behaviors change over time. House of Gucci I recommend for transformation and the journey. These were real people that Adam Driver and Lady Gaga played. Watching true stories is always a wonderful lesson in acting. Did this actor pick up a certain quirk from the person that they were portraying? Be on the lookout for specific behaviors. Number 3, Moonlight, directed by Barry Jenkins. If you haven't seen this yet, all I can say is, wow. This film won multiple Academy Awards. It really feels like you are a fly on the wall in this really amazing, incredible story about a young black man growing up in Miami and his epic journey to manhood. Pay attention to how these characters live in silence. It's really interesting to watch. Number 4, and this one is, again, another double with Devil Wears Prada, directed by David Frankel, and August Osage County, directed by John Wells. Of course, we have to watch some Meryl Streep films. She's been regarded as one of the greatest actresses of the 21st century. Regardless if you feel the same or not, it is always imperative to watch the greats, or what other people consider great. In these films, I pay attention to how she disappears into her characters. She makes very distinct choices. Specificity is really important when watching Meryl Streep. Number 5, Call Me By Your Name, directed by Luca Guadagnino. This film won multiple Academy Awards and is a masterclass in subtlety. Almost everything in this film is natural, and again, you feel like a fly on the wall observing this story. It's really interesting to unpack Timothée Chalamet's character's journey and how leading with empathy for a character that you're going to play can change everything. Number 6, Nomadland, directed by Chloe Zhao. This film also won multiple Academy Awards and is a masterclass in using your environment to your advantage, and how one's environment, if you're specific enough, can change everything about your approach to a character. Such a beautiful film. Go watch it. Oh my god. Number 7 is another double, which is Goodfellas, directed by Martin Scorsese, and Passing, directed by Rebecca Hall. Okay, yes, these two films are vastly different from one another, but both offer a great lesson in period pieces. Period pieces are pieces that are set not in the present day, they are set in the past, in a certain time period. Goodfellas takes place in the 1950s and onward, and Passing takes place in the 1920s. It's really interesting to study these films, not only for the brilliant acting and all-star cast and stylistic filmmaking that they both have, but it's also really interesting to study how these actors change their body language, their voices, how they interact with objects in order to fit within the time period. There's a certain dialect that people had in the United States around the 1950s, and the same is true for the 1920s. You'll thank me when you have an audition for somebody set in the 1920s or 1950s or any time period if you study films like these. And of course, rest in power to the wonderful and brilliant Ray Liotta. Number 8, Whiplash, directed by Damien Chazelle. Yes. This film will probably be on every list that you come across if you Google what film should actors be watching. And again, it's won multiple Academy Awards. J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller are spectacular in this film, and this film is a perfect lesson in living in the unknown. Pay attention to how well they both live on the edge, to where we as audience members and as viewers are doing the same. Tension is key here. But how does one do that without being angry all the time? Well, this film will give you the answer. Number 9, and this is again another double with The Danish Girl, directed by Tom Hopper, and The Theory of Everything, directed by James Marsh. Eddie Redmayne is a fantastic actor. Both of these films won multiple Academy Awards. These films are again lessons in period pieces, but it's also a masterclass in commitment. It's imperative to look at how Eddie lived these two characters' lives so effortlessly, how each character is so in their body, how the behavior that he chooses to use for each character is so specific, especially given the fact that in The Theory of Everything, he was playing Stephen Hawking. Again, rest in power to Stephen Hawking. But Eddie, fun fact, actually spent a good amount of time with Stephen Hawking, talking to him and studying his behaviors before filming began, and I think a little bit throughout the filming process as well. It's really fascinating and is again another lesson in commitment. And finally, number 10, I'm sure you're wondering when I'd mention these films, and in my completely unbiased opinion, I saved the best for last. This is again another double film. Fences, directed by Denzel Washington, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, directed by George C. Wolfe. Both of these films are adapted from plays by the great and wonderful August Wilson. Rest in power to August Wilson. Viola Davis and Denzel Washington were starring in Fences together on Broadway. And what did I say? Always watch the greats, specifically Viola Davis in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, along with the late and wonderful Chadwick Boseman, rest in power to him. When I first saw the trailer for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom on Netflix, I had no idea that it was Viola Davis leading the film. She completely disappeared into this role. These two films are, yes, another masterclass in period pieces, but they're also masterclass in behaviors, in commitment, in specificity, and in living in your body. So those are my top 10 films that I recommend to learn how to act. And yes, some of these were very biased opinions, but this is just what I recommend. All of these films are very different from one another, and they each offer something unique that you can put into your actor tool belt. Since you made it all the way to the end, here are a few bonus films that I recommend you watching and checking out. The first bonus is Anything by Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is taking over the horror scene, so I definitely make sure that I'm up to date on anything that he has out and in the works. I'd watch out for characterization in his films because each character is very distinct, and it's really interesting to watch how each character lives in fear and how they express it. It can be really challenging to act scared. Bonus film number 2, Anything by Quentin Tarantino. I know that he said or hinted at that he wasn't going to make any more films, but I seriously hope that he was talking out the side of his neck. Maybe it's just me, but I think he's a genius and his films are so raw. Plus, Samuel L. Jackson is in most all of his films, if not all of them, but definitely most of them, and he is also somebody that I would consider great. I'd watch his films to study specific behaviors and the action-oriented acting. So now you know all the films that I would recommend to learn how to act. Again, it's imperative to watch the greats, but it's also imperative to study and know films that received awards or nominations and why they may have received those specific awards and nominations. It's also imperative to understand why films make us feel a certain way, why we love a certain director, why we feel for certain characters, why we're left on the edge of our seats or in tears. Comment down below and let me know what films you'll be starting with. And happy watching. I'll see you all Thursday after next. Bye.